few hundred years ago, Pope Pius II, who liked fishing, wandered into the countryside around Siena and found it, quote, beautiful beyond description. Unlike many papal statements of the time, this one caused little argument and no wars. As for Siena itself, this really is one of those places where you step through enclosing walls and find yourself not just with odd bits of the past, but totally surrounded by it, as though you were standing in paint. In Siena, it's the 14th century. Dark streets run between cliff-like buildings and under arches, with the sunlight of the main square and the town hall. Over the roof, past the dome and tower of the cathedral, and onto the town hall tower. It's easy to see how central the main square is to Siena, and what a good arena it would make. It's usually described as shell-shaped, but it can seem like a large cupped hand with the Sienese comfortably contained in it, sitting or standing here and there, and forgetting their dilemma about which century they would like it to be. Through the centuries, Siena's staple crop has been the carefully cultivated interests from bank roads. This early aristocrat, intruder-proof home has now become the headquarters of the Monte dei Paschi Bank, founded 500 years ago. Top Sienese had started banking before 1200, collecting money for popes and lending it to kings. They were in England by the year 1229, where their presence is commented on with all the disapproval reserved for people you owe money to. The bank recently commissioned an architect at vast cost, actually to enclose the aristocrats' ancient tower within their splendidly rebuilt interior. Impressive, but as symbols of old and new, motorbikes by the city wall are seated. Depending on what you think of the 20th century, you'll find the young people of Siena either deprived or incredibly fortunate. That's because Siena offers them a lot more past than future. Nilo is a bank clerk. He lives in a town practically built around a bank, and half the people you meet seem to work in it. But obviously there are limits. So Nilo has to go all the way to Leghorn, 70 miles away, to find work. There may be similar problems facing Gianni. He's studying to be a surveyor. But apart from the fact that a few houses are supposed to be slipping down the street, everything in and around Siena must have been surveyed from 1,000 angles already. In the meantime, what brings Nilo and Gianni together is an extraordinary relic from the past, their contrada, which this year has made them stars. Porcupine, goose, dragon, she-wolf, giraffe. Just some of the contradas, or districts, which divide the town into a patchwork more checkered than the map of Europe. Nilo and Gianni belong to one of the oldest, with an early history of militancy and popular rebellion, the contrada of the Capitula. Your contrada is where you are born, yours for life, even if you move away. The Sienese say, first you have your parents, then your contrada. You're even christened twice, in church, then by contrada lane. To be without a contrada in Siena is to be, in a way, a bastard. For most of the year, the Caterpillar headquarters functions as a club. Bingo for mama, outings and film shows for the kids. Mostly it's somewhere to come and have a drink, or several drinks, with people you've probably known all your life. As the wine flows, though, you may notice something less friendly beneath the social surface. A feeling of closing ranks, elaborate threats of violence against outsiders and other contradas. Usually this tails off into empty talk, but the violence is there, perhaps in need of an outlet. Even when Nilo and Gianni and the others sing, it's about their passion for the Caterpillar contrada. The clues to what lifts the Contrada from being just an ordinary club are in their museum. This is almost a sacred place to the people of the capital of Italy, made as grand as the neighborhood can afford. At first sight, it seems to be just a storehouse for the Contrada's past, another attempt to wrap the Middle Ages in policy. The cases full of costumes, reminders that the Contradas began as military companies, seem to be waiting for some miracle to turn Siena back into the city-state. Then models of jockeys and a jockey's cap. Finally, a jockey's unmistakably caterpillar colors. Instead of a miracle, the Sienese ticket to the Middle Ages is a horse race called the Palio, ridden bareback 3 times around a crowded main square, in which the jockeys take bribes and whip each other as much as the horses. To win is the greatest ambition of each Contrada. And although victory costs millions of lire, the only prize is the Palio itself, a painted silk banner to be framed on the walls of the Contrada and treasured until it rots. It must be one of the oldest horse races still in existence. It was first mentioned in the 13th century, and it's certainly the most extraordinary. The caterpillar haven't done too well this century. Their last win was 18 years ago, which means that Milo and Gianni are too young to remember the day that this Palio was handed to the obliviously happy caterpillar supporters in the main square. At the bottom of the banner, shields of the 9 Contradas defeated by the caterpillar. Winning the Palio means first of all finding a good jockey to run for you, and promising enough money to deflect the bribes of the other Contradas, and reconciling to the real risk of breaking his neck. The horse is an unknown quantity, being drawn by lot in the days just before the race. The jockeys are almost always from outside Siena, a band of men apart, mistrusted by the Sienese because they are tough and cunning, and because they have no allegiance, but idolized by the Contrada if they win. One of the best of them is Canapino.
Se un fantino si impegna con una contrada,
If a jockey agrees to run for a Contrada, he has to... Well, it depends. He either signs up with them and says that he wants such and such a sum of money, or sometimes he signs up and waits to see how the horses turn out, because the horses are drawn by lot. And the Contrada that I'm fixed up with, or someone else is fixed up with, might get a rotten horse. Not a real Palio horse. In which case, either they give you a certain figure to stay with them, or we choose another Contrada who looks a bit more promising.
anche vedendo il cavallo della contrada.
Sometimes, when the Contrada we've signed up with see what horse they get, and it's a horse that hasn't got a chance, and they've got an enemy Contrada, they might give the jockey to another Contrada who's got a better horse than they have, to see if this other Contrada can win. They give their jockey away, which is a good jockey, of course, to stop the enemy winning. Or else, if they can't give him away, then the jockey's job is to concentrate on the enemy Contrada and hold him off. There are jockeys who grab the other Contrada's horses by the reins. Some will hold them off, get in their way so they can't make a good start. Just get in the way. And whipping, you can use your whip on them. In fact, the town hall give you a whip specially for that, made from the sinew of an ox. You can whip very nicely with that. It hurts, too.
By one of Siena's arched reservoirs, Nilo and Gianni rehearsed their star roles as flag bearers for the Caterpillar in the historical parade which fills the square just before the horse race. They've got to be good, because 70,000 people will be watching them and comparing their performance with the other contradas. At the same time, this long practice devoted to a lost art underlines Siena's schizophrenic existence in separate centuries. With outsiders strictly excluded, the noble contrada of the Caterpillar opens its General Assembly to discuss ways and means of winning the Palio. In other words, money and tax. The discussion is led by the Capitano, whose military title reflects how, during the Palio, the contrada considers itself to be in a state of war. How can they make sure Canapino will ride for them? What if he goes to another contrada? What are the good horses? Which one do they hope to get in the draw? Talk, he says, grinds no flour. So here's a check for £1 million lira, nearly £700. The signatures are all promises of money to fill Canapino's pockets if, or rather when, he wins. A victory can cost the equivalent of £40,000. Even the little children say they're sweetening. Here, Gianni is not just another youth with worries about a career and a future in Siena. For these children, he's a hero. Everything they hope to be in a few years' time. Being brought up on these ceremonies explains the Sienese total lack of self-confidence when they come to parade around the town in medieval costumes. The Palio is clearly a long way from being just a show for the tourists. While this is going on, a few uneasy Caterpillar eyes are turned towards the neighboring contrada of the She-Wolf, whose two flag bearers are going through exactly the same routine. The worry is that the She-Wolf last won the Palio 20 years ago, even further in the past than the Caterpillar. They're a wealthier and somehow smarter contrada, with fine old premises and a wooden sail. And it's known they're spending plenty of money to win. The She-Wolf and the Caterpillar. The routines of setting the stage for the Palio are so familiar that they happen almost overnight, with unexpected efficiency. A thick layer of yellow sienna soil covers the granite surface of the course itself, giving at least some protection to horses and jockeys. Flags and banners appear in the balcony. Solid wooden stands go up in front of the shops and cafe terraces in the main square. Only 10 of the 17 contradas run in each Palio, with 7 excluded in a rota system. 10 is considered a sufficiently dangerous number. Few mayors have a more splendid town hall more sumptuous office, or a better cut jacket than Roberto Barzanti, mayor of Siena, and something of an expert on history and psychology of the Palio. During the period of the Palio, there are between the various contradas what we might call diplomatic agreements, under which one contrada might help another to win, and attempted bribery aimed particularly at the jockeys, who, being mercenaries, are very much amenable to the amount of money they are offered. As a horse race, the Palio is extremely irregular, which is why we sometimes call it a jousting match, and it's also a very short race. The real key to understanding the race is knowing what lies behind the surface. In the Palio, it's not the best man that wins. In many races, in many sporting events, the saying is, may the best man win. In the Palio, the man who wins is the man who comes in first. 3 days before the race, the Palio horses arrive. A choice of 20 or more from the surrounding countryside. For the contradas, this is the most agonizing hour of the Palio. Will they get a good horse? A bad draw is a terrible disappointment, leaving the contrada with just one unexciting option. To sell itself as an obstacle in the race. For the Caterpillar, the news is that Canapino will ride, if they draw a horse he likes. In the inner courtyard of the town hall, the horses are lined up for numbering. All must be mares or geldings. It's hard to dismiss the thought that, on previous Palio forms, their chances of injury or death are high. These are not thoroughbreds, but good to average half-breeds. Palio horses need to be sturdy as much as fast. Some are fast. Some have run the course so often that they could go without a jockey. The rest are either hopeless or thought to be hopeless, which comes to the same thing. The jockeys spend the morning trying out the horses in series, giving the Contrada Capitanos a chance to assess the best 10 to go into the lottery. The rider is unseated by the Dolphin's jockey. An anxious tempers flare. After the heat, the captains shut themselves up in the town hall to make their choice. The 10 horses they eventually select are brought out to the public, now in a terrible state of excitement, to see. The mare starts the draw. There are just 2 or 3 good horses, and one called Marco Polo, an unknown quantity, but Canapino thinks he's good. First, number 3, a good horse. Goes to the track. Next, number 6. One of the best ones. It goes to Shield. Then comes number 4, a bad horse.
Quattro. Istrice.
To the porcupine.
Nove.
Number 9, Marco Polo.
L'ha detto il sormario. Bruco.
Bruco. Caterpillar.
Ragazzi! Vai!
Well, it's the first half-decent horse they've had in 18 years. Immediately the draw is given. The Caterpillar lead Marco Polo through the streets to the heart of their contrada. Once they are safely in Caterpillar territory, the Capitano and everyone else crowd round to look at the horse that is now their hope for the Palio. And Canapino rubs off the sweat from the morning heat. The horse will be given every attention. If anything happens, they don't get another one. The Caterpillar stable, empty until today, will be Marco Polo's home for the next 3 days, and the home of the man who watches him day and night. The place is spotlessly clean, and by horse standards, luxurious. Sometimes the jockey is locked up too, if there's reason to mistrust him. But who could mistrust Canapino? Each evening and each morning before the race, the horses are led to the square for preliminary trials, which draw the crowds and give some foretaste of the Palio atmosphere. It's not hard to believe that before Siena was a medieval city, before even the little staging point on the road to ancient Rome that preceded it, there was an Etruscan settlement here, and the Etruscans worshipped horses. Before the trial, Mayor Barzanti makes a proprietorial tour of the square. White uniformed mules skillfully clear the track. The Caterpillars, waiting to see Marco Polo in action at last, relieve the tension with a fairly rude song. The start is a contest in itself. We must avoid rivals after blocking. The horse drawn to line up last will come in on the run, and that's when the start is released of the race. The other jockeys must judge that moment exactly, holding their mounts poised to shoot out as the rope falls. False starts are common. They must all line up again. Canapino, whose nickname means little starting rate, is noted for his brilliant start. This time it's a clean start. 3 times clockwise round the square, almost as fast as in the race itself. Round the dangerous San Martino corner, a headlong downhill gallop with sharp right-hand bend. Here is where horses crash into the side and jockeys are trampled. Canapino is in the middle of the field. He seems to be holding Marco Polo back, no trouble at all, saving him for the day itself. Another deafening mortar burst marks the end of the race. Everyone is talking about the Caterpillar's dark horse. As the Palio flag is led in procession to one of the churches of St. Mary's, to whom the Palio is dedicated, Caterpillar supporters can look on and feel that tomorrow it may be theirs. Despite appearances, the race is not an especially religious event. It's true there's strictly no betting, and this is said to be out of respect for the Madonna. But a shrewder and more cynical guess is that since somebody somewhere has probably fixed the race in advance, no sane bookmaker will open a book. Nearly 1,000 Caterpillar supporters will turn up for the pre-Palio supper to eat steaks barbecued in an outdoor kitchen. With a good jockey and a good horse, not to mention gallons of the sweet, fizzy wine they mostly prefer, the noise of the party spreads well beyond the boundaries of the Caterpillar district. The day of the Palio, the museum comes to life. This is the day which sees the final metamorphosis of Gianni and the other Caterpillars into something more like butterflies. Faces could hardly have been more tense during a real call to arms 600 years ago. The Caterpillar women must have helped them to dress in exactly this way. In fact, Milo genuinely thinks he is going to die, because his heart, he says, is beating so fast. In an inner sanctum of the town hall, the jockeys assemble before the mayor and the starter and are officially commissioned to ride in Palio. There's a brief complaint from Canapino about the starter's technique with a rope.
Quando l'incollatura supera il berrocchino, il canape giù. Prima no, mai.
But now, when they show the colors of a contrada, it's too late for the jockeys to change their minds. For the contrada captains, relief that much of the wheeling and dealing is over. For the jockeys, well, perhaps little private arrangements among themselves. The oddest moment of the whole Palio is when the horse is brought to the Contrada chapel to be blessed. The horse is blessed first, unwitting participant in a dangerous event. The jockey knows to the last lira why he's right. If the horse manages what the polite call disrespect for the holy place, this is a sign of good luck, of course. They're on the way to the square, but several stops have to be made to pay respect to the various institutions of Siena. For one of the first, naturally, is the bank. Behind the Caterpillar, the eagle. The whole town is full of crisscrossing contradas, making their different ways to the square. And now to the cathedral square, where the Archbishop is waiting in his palace to be greeted. Milo, like a seasoned performer, throws off his wig and has a second try. When groups of participants pause to rest in this courtyard, while they wait their turn for the square, the medieval picture is at its most complete. Well, almost. Begins, as always, with the emblems of Siena and the band playing the Palio fanfare. The parade represents both the municipal authorities of Siena and, through the contradas, the people. It's a slow and carefully stage-managed winding up of tension in readiness for the race itself. This is a parade horse that Canapino is riding. Marco Polo is led along behind. Each contrada, as it follows the horses, frisky with drugs, proved quite hard to hold. Medieval armies went into battle with massive war wagons carrying their colors. The Palio flag is Siena's modern substitute. A different local artist is commissioned to paint each Palio flag and stand its bearer. The Palio is hung on a balcony in a corner of the square, ready to be taken down by whichever contrada wins the race. In front of the town hall, all 17 contradas toss their flags for the last time. The heavy starting rope is placed on the winch and wound to the tension needed to hold back the 10 drug-filled horses. A lever on the other side holds it taut until the starter is ready. The mortar is the signal for the jockeys to appear and collect their whips. Now is the last opportunity to deal with jockeys. Even on the starting line, it is not too late to buy cooperation.
Fermi, fermi, montone a posto! Fermi, fermi! Brigadiere Martini, fermate!
Brilliant start by Canapino. There's one massive shot of Bruco, the caterpillar. The dangerous San Martino bend takes its route, the year of the caterpillar. Canapino glances back at the field, holds Marco Polo back a shot. Into the bend the second time. The strategy was that the shell, for a fee of £8,000, would stay close to Canapino and ward off pursuers. Unfortunately, the shell knocked Canapino off his horse, or so it appeared. Canapino remounts and drops out of the race. Back to the leader. Now it's between the dragon and the she-wolf. She-wolf spurts ahead. So it's she-wolf after all. Ridden by a jockey called Tristeza, which means sadness. The disappointment of the caterpillars has gradually given way to anger. Somehow consoling phrases from outsiders seem out of place. No one says bad luck when you lose a war.